The Supreme Court, it's currently looking at birthright citizenship. I'll show you why this is the most important current case on the Supreme Court docket, because it involves will the Democrat Party be a viable party, or will it die forever? Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Can't believe that we haven't spent enough time on this one, so I thought I'd go back in and reinforce that this is the most important court case. Hope you guys have subscribed if you want the real news and not just a bunch of tabloid stuff. We do deep dives on this stuff all the time. I love the Supreme Court. This is a full branch of government, 1/3 of the power, equal to the amount of power Trump has and the Congress has. So here we go. This is the headline. Supreme Court meets to weigh Trump's birthright citizenship that was blocked by the lower courts. So you already know that the lower courts have been working for the Democrats, that these are all their radical judges, and so it's going up to the Supreme Court. This is Washington. The Supreme Court is meeting in private. They just met privately with a key issue on its agenda: President Trump's birthright citizenship order, declaring that children born to parents who are in the United States illegally or temporarily are not American citizens. Welcome to my basement. This is where all the magic happens. Talk about magic. You should be calling Chapter to help you with your Medicare annual enrollment. Ends December 7th. Gonna clog like Pritzker toilet if you wait till the last minute. Quit procrastinating. Do yourself a favor. Call Chapter at 631-961-8696. They're a sponsor of the show, so they help me out, and I trust them because you guys have emailed me in your messages below. You call every day. We get a ton. I've only heard good news. Not one person has said they've ever been rude to or treated with disrespect or pushed into buying something that they didn't want. They're much more conversational and nice than that. They'll give you information. The call's free, so it doesn't cost you anything.
You could go bleed them for information about Medicare.
And I encourage you to do it. Give them a call and tell them Doug in Exile sent you. The phone number is 631-961-8696. So look, an ambassador can come here and drop a kid, have a baby. They do not become citizens. By the way, if we were at war and there were soldiers over here who happened to be fighting us and they were pregnant and they had a kid, they would not be a citizen. So it is not just saying birthright citizenship at all costs. So if someone's illegally here, what is the intent of the founders with having immigrants here having babies? That's what the Supreme Court is going to be asking and have been arguing for quite a while now. But now they're going to settle it. They got to settle it once and for all, guys. Declaring that children born to parents who are in the United States illegally or temporarily are not American citizens. The justices could say as soon as Monday whether they will hear Trump's appeal of court rulings, and I believe they will. If the court steps in now, the case would be argued in the coming spring. So this is still what's coming early next year, with definitive ruling expected by summer. That is next summer. The birthright summer of 2026. But it has to be settled before the next election. And that's what this thing is really about. This is about Democrats versus Republicans at the election. Because if you don't allow birthright citizenship, and we shouldn't, if you allow birthright citizenship, then a bunch of illegals are going to make the case that they can vote. Or the parents can say that we belong here because we had a baby here and we can vote. The birthright citizenship order, which Trump signed on the first day of his second term of the White House, that's how important it was, is part of the administration's broad immigration crackdown. Other actions include immigration enforcement surges in several cities and the first peacetime invocation of the 18th century Alien Enemies Act. So now you see why Trump is gathering up criminal illegal aliens. He is building a case for his side, and the Supreme Court, I believe, Clarence Thomas and Alito, two of the most conservative constitutionalist guys, and frankly, the most open to overturning or redefining laws to make them reform them back to what the founders intended, are likely going to side with Trump. The administration is facing multiple court challenges at the high court, has sent mixed signals in emergency orders it has issued. The justices effectively stopped the use of the Alien Enemies Act to rapidly deport alleged Venezuelan gang members without court hearings, while they allowed the presumption of sweeping immigration stops in the Los Angeles area after a lower court blocked practice of stopping people solely based on race. That's a bunch of gobbledygook. The justices are also weighing on the administration's emergency appeal to allow them to deploy the National Guard troops in the Chicago area for immigration enforcement actions. That's a slightly different subject, but related. Here's Politico on the same topic. Supreme Court set to wade in on a case that could, are you ready for this? Tip the scales for the midterms next year. That means depending on what the Supreme Court decides, will decide whether if Trump gets impeached or not, whether if Trump goes to jail or not, and whether if Republicans can hold the House and the Senate or not. It's going to be decided at the Supreme Court based on birthright citizenship. A lower court order in Texas's new congressional map has made its way to the high court. It could be the first of several mid-decade redistricting pushes. Now, redistricting is also just about the election. Who will be counted in what clump? And before in Texas, they were based on racial redistricting and false census material, and the census overcounted illegal Hispanics. Control of Congress and the fate of President Donald Trump's second-term agenda could come down to a single urgent decision that landed this week at the Supreme Court's doorstep. So these are two cases the Supreme Court needs to take up, and they need to be decided by this summer before the 2026 fall election. A lower court ruling striking down Texas's congressional map abruptly thrust the justices into a battle they appeared to be trying to avoid, effectively deciding whether to give the midterm boost to Republicans or Democrats. The Supreme Court is deciding, guys. You thought this was about a vote. Doesn't matter how many of us vote. The Supreme Court's going to lop off either congressional districts in Texas, reversing Republicans that run that state, reversing their decision. And a court's going to come down to that. I don't believe Justice Roberts is going to do that. I don't believe he's going to agree with that lower court's decision, even though it was a Trump-appointed judge. I don't believe the Supreme Court is going to want to take that responsibility. Same thing with birthright citizenship. I think they either punt and say, we're not going to decide on birthright yet, or they're going to say, we decided, and they're going to decide it in the Republicans' favor. And the decision goes beyond the control of the speaker's gavel. If Democrats retake the House, Trump will spend his final 2 years in office under a hail of subpoenas and with little leverage to pursue his policy imperatives. This is why the Democrats want to win this redistricting case, because it'll tie up Trump. He effectively will be a president, though he sits in office for 4 years. He will only have worked for 2 years, with Speaker Mike Johnson and Thune having the narrowest majorities in House of Representatives and Congress, effectively neutering the MAGA agenda. Do you guys see where this is going now? Here's Mother Jones' massive Democrat Marxist website. The Texas gerrymandering case is a test of the Supreme Court's integrity. Do the justices have any rules they won't let Republicans break? There's Chief Justice Roberts. Yes, it all lies on his shoulders. President Donald Trump's quest to gerrymandered red states so that the Republican Party cannot lose the House of Representatives in 2026 hit a snag on Tuesday when a federal court blocked Trump's redrawn. That was last Tuesday. Going up to the Supreme Court, they'll go over their heads. And I don't believe, given Justice Roberts' legal theory, that the Supreme Court should not be getting involved in election stuff. They're going to leave it to Texas. Here's the last article. Courthouse News. Trump's fight to redefine American citizen returns to the Supreme Court after winning round one. President Trump wants the justices to tee up a final showdown on birthright citizenship. In a private session Friday, the Supreme Court will consider putting President Trump's bid to limit birthright citizenship back on the docket in 2026. Guys, this might not be our only shot at it either. If this fails, then the Republicans will instantly be able to find even more cases to bring before the Supreme Court. But it has to be done by summer of 2026 to once and for all either allow birthright citizenship of illegals or say that they are not here just because you happen to take a flight here and squat a baby on our borders. Well, that's the news. Hope you guys have subscribed. If you like more of this kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe to Doug in Exile, and we will cover all things of the Supreme Court as this gears up this year. I'm Doug in Exile. Subscribe.